If you want more content from We Studios, check us out at our website, weepodcast.com. That's WEEpodcast.com. You can find our Twitter, our Reddit, everything over there. Our Simpsons podcast, worst episode ever, our sync points, everything. Everything must go.
Everything we got. We're having a fire sale on WePodcast.com.
Get it while it's hot.
While you're there, if you feel like spending some money, just click our Amazon links or just go to amazon.wepodcast.com and shop like you normally would. We get a small cut, keeps the show free. This wonderful show that you're about to hear.
Yeah, one more thing before we go. Including everything, we have a new sync points. We should really mention this. It's a short one. It's a TV pilot from 1990 called Puchinsky, where what's his face plays a dog.
It's not Peter Weller. That's
Peter
the first
Boyle,
thing I thought
Peter
of.
Boyle. He plays
Peter
a dog. Anyway, we're going to release this. Well, we feel bad. We released an episode of 90s Percentile.
We confused a lot of you by releasing a 90s episode on our worst episode ever feed. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it free for just 3 days. So for 3 days after this episode of 90s Percentile has come out, Puchinsky is going to be free. Go to wepodcast.com and check out the sync points there, and you can get it. But as of Thursday, whatever that date is, it'll be $1.
$1. Yeah. So
not a whole lot. But
yeah, it's a new sync. It's a new sync points. It's not a whole new 3-hour Superman movie, but it's something.
It's something. It's something.
It's everything.
60 minutes are on the clock, and straight out of We Studios, this is 90s Percentile. My name is Dan.
My name is Jack, and we're talking everything 90s and maybe also everything before and after.
And we are joined again with another guest, a new guest. He's not been on the show before, but it is another guest in a series of guests.
There was one, and now
there was one
another.
guest. Now there's another. Then there was another. There's a whole set of guests.
We're really breaking the mold here.
Yeah, I don't know. A podcast with guests? I've never heard of such a thing, but we're doing it again today. Evan Leone is our guest. How you doing, Evan?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Now, Evan, you are an actor, right?
Yes.
Yes. Where would our listeners know you from?
You may know me from a little show on AMC called Feed the Beast. I play the character of Gecko.
Okay.
Which is a great name.
It is
right?
Yeah.
I do like it.
Yeah.
I remember when we were starting out, it was Gecko. And then you think about it, and you're there, and you're there, and you're there. That's a memorable name. I like that. I'm sticking with it. I don't want a first name. I don't want a last name. Just give me Gecko.
Just Gecko, please.
Just Gecko.
Yeah. And you, most of your scenes, you have a lot of scenes in the show. Most of them are with, what's his name?
Michael Gladys, who plays the Tooth Fairy. My boss, I'm pretty much his right hand doing the dirty work with him. So if you see us... It's not a good thing. It's it's a dramatic show.
Watch out, David Schwimmer.
That's right. Swimmer knows. So if he sees us, trouble's on the horizon. So.
Definitely.
Do you have any good, off the top of your head, just real quick, any good David Schwimmer stories? Because I have one.
Do you really have a good David Schwimmer story?
It's something I read in the paper yesterday.
Oh, okay.
But I have a closer.
The only Schwimmer story I have is the one where me and him worked together, because we really were literally never on the same day, almost never same time. We did a commercial spot towards the end of the season where I'm dragging a body behind him. We met, really nice guy, but I don't have any good.
Wait, what do you mean by commercial spot?
Well, we did advertising for the show. So I think it was for the first episode. He does this whole little bit. He's in the restaurant, and obviously, as you see the story, it develops. The mafia is tied to the restaurant business. He's in the restaurant business with his partner.
Right. We should just say real quick, the show is about David Schwimmer and
Jim
what's his name? Jim Sturgis.
Yes.
They open a restaurant in the Bronx, right?
Yes.
And they get tied into the mob somehow.
Yeah, it's really fun because there's a ton of mob shows on cable network, obviously, but this one has a real quirk, and especially with the Greek restaurant tied into it, it's very quirky. It's different from anything I've seen before. It's really enjoyable.
Yes, and they use that old food porn, if you will.
Yeah.
I think they really understood
yes.
that. That is a new feature, especially of television. Obviously, you see, whatever. But I think it all ties in with the mafia. You got the friendship, you got the family. So basically, long story short, there's a promo ad to advertise for the show, and he's on the phone. He's taking reservations, and in the background comes Michael, my boss, and then he signals us over as David has his back turned, and we drag a body throughout. So it's like,
I'm just shocked that I thought
bodies and food.
Yeah, I thought all the clips I see on TV were from some part of the episode. I'm shocked that they actually record specific commercial promos. That's
sometimes. Well, that does kind of sum up the show in one spot. Like, oh, it's a restaurant. What's this regular restaurant all about? What's that, a body? Oh, no.
It's dinner theater. Dinner theater. We actually drag bodies through the restaurant. It's a gimmick we use. It's good.
It
works.
shows what a noob I am. I'm just shocked in 2016 they still do that. That's kind of awesome.
I would go to that dinner theater where they drag bodies through the restaurant.
Actually, I think we're onto something.
I think so. I think we have a $1 million idea here.
And you could put and you can put the food porn on the Spice Network.
I get it.
No, real quick, my David Schwimmer story. I read that apparently he was offered Will Smith's role in Men in Black and couldn't do it because he wanted to direct his own small film with his theater friends from Chicago as part of his like 3-picture deal that he signed after the Pallbearer.
Yeah, sure.
And it was basically he had to decide: do you direct your passion project or do you star in Men in Black? And he went with his passion project.
What was the passion project? Do you know?
I can't remember the name of
curious.
it. I can't remember the name of it. It's not a super famous
Men in
movie.
Black was not a big hit, but I'm assuming the passion project was huge.
I mean, it's just solid.
I can picture Schwimmer as Agent J though. It would be completely different. It's like how Speed was originally supposed to be Tom Hanks and Ellen DeGeneres.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and if you read the script, it works. If you read all of Keanu's lines as Tom Hanks and all of Sandra's as Ellen DeGeneres, it works completely. But it's a totally different
movie.
Yeah.
We have Keanu's here in studio.
Oh, I thought that was his Tom Hanks.
They called me. It's supposed to work with Tom Hanks. It's a terrible Keanu Reeves. I'm sorry, but
it was a great
I
Tom
felt the
Hanks.
impulse.
I thought it was delightful. I have to imagine that.
Wait, you guys want to see my Ellen DeGeneres?
Yep. Doing a dance. Good podcast.
There is a bomb on this bus, Ellen. Stop dancing.
Look at me, I'm Ellen. just doing Kate McKinnon's impression now.
Life is like a box of chocolates. There's a bomb on the bus. Etc.
I have AIDS and there's a bomb on this bus.
That was also in the script.
Yep, I figured it was because Philadelphia had just come out.
Dennis Hopper was supposed to be played by Denzel
how
Washington.
far would Hopper go with Tom Hanks?
Oh boy. Very good. So thanks for being here, Evan. And we can talk about David Schwimmer all episode if we wanted to. He is a very 90s topic. But
Yeah.
My friend's knowledge is, I might be scorned for saying that. My friend's knowledge is not that strong.
Not that strong. Okay.
Fortunately, we just had a Friends expert on the show 2 weeks ago, so I think we're good for like 6 months before we have to really delve back in.
Before we dig back into Monica and Chandler and all the rest.
The Friends.
Those hallway friends.
There was a Friend story I totally forgot to tell 2 weeks ago.
Do you want to tell it now?
All right. I was digitizing my old stories. And I found a novel I wrote, a time travel novel about teenagers who travel through time.
Okay.
It's called Traveling Through Time.
Very fitting title, Jack.
And there's a happy ending. They get stuck in an Outsiders type 1950s. They make it back. They fix the time machine. They make it back. And the end is them skateboarding. And basically when I wrote my books...
This sounds a lot like Back to the Future.
I was going to say somewhere.
Teenager goes to the 50s. They ends with skateboarding.
Is Christopher Lloyd in this?
I never made that connection until just now.
They hang out with this crazy mathematician. And they drive a Segway.
Anyway, there's a happy ending, and I always pictured my books as movies, which is much more obvious now.
Sure.
And they're all skateboarding to the tune, the Friends theme by the Rembrandts.
Okay.
Because that was like my favorite song at the time. I was 10, 11 years old.
Yes.
And I literally write in the lyrics into the novel, so it's just like they're listening to the Rembrandts. I'll be the quote unquote. I'll be there for you while skateboarding. Matt skateboards ahead of Brad. Race you to the arcade. You'll get it. And then I put like music notes. When your life's stuck in second gear, and I would just put like more lines of exposition. I'd be like, your life's a joke, you broke.
So you like wrote out the soundtrack,
I wrote out the entire lyrics to the Friends song
with music notes,
with exposition in between.
Very good, very good. I think we should publish that book, Jack. We could self-publish anything on Amazon these days.
I just digitized it, so I've got screen grabs.
Right.
Was this your ploy to get Courtney Cox's attention or Jennifer Aniston? Which one were you?
I feel like every guy had one. Okay. I was a Cox guy.
Yeah.
I love Cox.
Also a Cox guy.
Yeah.
We love Cox.
Really?
Now, Masters Universe. Courtney Cox was with the denim jacket.
Loved
Even
her in that.
Ace Ventura. Ace Ventura.
Damsel in
Yeah, of
Distress.
course.
Dolph
Yeah.
Lundgren.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Solid movie, Masters of the
No.
Universe.
So I'll throw some screen grabs up. I actually kind of envisioned Huey Lewis doing the cover, doing a cover of "I'll Be There for You," though.
I would love to hear that. So
too.
Huey, if you're listening, please write in.
He's just too darn loud.
I'm on a first name basis with HL.
That's not his first name. That's his initials.
Well, I'm also on an initial basis with HL.
You were initially on a first name basis.
Initially.
But now you're on an initial
And now,
basis.
firstly, I'm on an initial basis. Evan, I'm so glad that you're here today. As our guest, it is your right to choose the first topic that we talk about. Now that we're only 51 minutes and 40 seconds to go, so you, as your right, it's your right to choose a topic, a 90s topic that we can talk about, or we can go into our random topic generator submitted by listeners on 90spercentile.wordpress.com or through wepodcast.com.
Or I can just tell more David Schwimmer stories.
Or we can just talk about Schwimmy. Unbreakable Schwimmy.
I've got
Schwimm.
dozens of them. I read a lot of variety. What do you say, Evan?
I'm going to go with something that, I think I need to get off my chest after all these years. The trauma and the psychology of living with this hobby in the 90s, which was exploited to just an insane amount of... all right, let's just get to it. 90s comics. I don't think there's one thing in my 10 years that really affected me more than growing up and then trying to, on the little pittance that I had, trying to keep up with the comic boom of the 90s. So
I thought you were going with Unabombing for a second. I was just like, I got to get this off my chest. Just something I really struggled with, the hobby in the 90s. Mail bombings.
Yeah, 90s comics just as explosive as mail bombings.
Yeah. Let's
especially when Rob Liefeld's drawing them. Yeah, let's talk some 90s comics. I mean,
Right.
the 90s were, like you said, the boom time for comics. That's when you had the proliferation of the comic book store as like a dedicated direct market type place.
Was that really a 90s thing, the comic
It
book
was.
store?
it was late 80s into
Yeah.
the
I feel
90s
like it
was
went
the boom.
mainstream in the 90s.
Cards
it
on
was
the
always
table.
there.
Yeah, cards on the table. I'm not the comic expert in this panel. I
Sure.
have a passing familiar. I know more than I like to say. I like to say this about Star Wars. I guess I can say this about like Batman comics and comics. I know more than 99% of the population.
Sure.
But I know a million times less than the other 1%.
Than the other 1% who are experts on Batman.
Like,
The Batmanologists of the world.
exactly. Like I know his. Well, I don't know.
You know his secret identity.
I know that he is Bruce Wayne.
Oh my God, Batman and Bruce Wayne are the same person?
Wait a minute.
Oh my God, that explains so much. I thought they were just cutting between two separate parallel stories.
You were waiting for them to tie it together.
That's amazing.
That Alfred is such a good actor. How does he pull that off?
I gotta go watch those movies again.
Well,
Good
anyway,
Lord.
no. So I'll be the. I'm gonna take what you guys say as gospel here. Comic books
Sure.
were 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
comic
so
book
I mean,
stores.
it's far ranging, but I mean, like
Definitely.
I said, leading up to this topic, that when you had just a little money to play with, I was a kid, I was a teenager, I might have had a part-time job at the time or didn't.
Sure.
You knew you had to get a certain issue, this Spider-Man issue, this Batman issue, this whatever it was.
Yeah.
Punisher. Anything
Punisher,
like that.
very big in
But
the
now
90s.
it's a gold foil issue. Instead of it being $2, it's now $5. Instead
Yeah.
of this X-Men comic, it's now $4.99. Whatever it is, they had these holograms, they had all this stuff, and the marketing was done so well that you felt like if you didn't have this issue, you missed the whole story.
You
Yeah.
were left out.
That's it. You're done.
And
The train's leaving without you.
Yeah, and
Which is great marketing, yeah.
A huge piece of the 90s was the crossover comics, which they would do all the time with X-Men. You got like Executioner's Song,
yes,
Extinction
yes,
Agenda,
yes.
Age of Apocalypse.
Was that
obviously
also-
the biggest one.
Was that a 90s? Well, I mean, like
These are
Crisis
all very
in
90s.
Infinite Earths was 86. Was there
That was
anything
86.
before that though?
The first kind of big events, Crisis was one of them, and Secret Wars.
I was gonna
was
say
another.
Secret Wars
was
is older,
85,
right?
I think.
Yeah, okay.
And that was kind of the template for the big event comic. But this was like, Secret Wars was its own separate thing that took place in its own series.
Okay.
And it would tie in.
like a world, yeah.
Like
it's
X-Men
separate.
would make reference to, remember that time we were on Battle World with the Beyonder?
Right. But you could miss it.
You could,
But
in
you-
theory,
yes,
miss
yeah,
it. Yeah, there
yes.
were ramifications afterwards. Spider-Man got his black
That's
costume.
right.
Yeah,
The
that's
Thing, I
That
believe,
one's
quit
probably
the
worth a
Fantastic
lot
Four.
of money, that comic, yeah.
That comic is definitely worth a
Yeah.
lot of money.
I
Secret
just
Wars
wanted to throw
8,
that
I
in.
think.
I have them all here. I didn't know. I just use them for toilet paper.
Yeah, that's what I've been using them for.
Just like,
You had
I-
Amazing Fantasy number 16. I just wiped my butt
Yeah,
with it.
exactly.
I thought that was what appropriate.
That's
thing to
why
do.
Spider-Man's costume is black.
And I need to change my eating
Exactly.
habits.
I have not been eating enough vegetables.
No,
or
no.
too many.
No. Yeah.
But to go on those crossovers
Sure.
that we're talking about, a lot of them I don't think really would stand up in the test of time as did anything happen. But
Right.
two very big ones did happen, which was Nightfall and the Death of Superman, which
Huge.
Yeah, and those are the two I know really well, especially Death of Superman.
Right, and those defined DC in the 90s, I would say.
Yeah.
Death of Superman especially.
All right.
And that's a storyline that I think holds up.
Well, do you know that they're already shooting the Justice League movie?
Of course.
And there are reports that, spoiler alert, we're going to do some Batman v Superman, dawn of spoilers here.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, Superman dies.
Yep.
And Batman
It's true.
wins.
It's true.
Why'd you say that name? Why'd you say that name?
That was Bruce Wayne the whole time.
We'll get into that in a
Crazy.
second. I would love to talk about that.
Sure, yes.
But anyway, there's been reports that on set, what's his face? Superman looks like me.
Looks like you.
He looks like me.
I don't know about that,
Nice.
sir.
I'm a
Yeah.
better looking version of
Henry Cavill.
Henry
Listen,
Cavill,
that's-
yeah.
I don't know about that, Jack.
I think in a certain light when he's getting shot in the face with a laser.
Maybe when he's getting shot in the face with a laser. People say I look like Jesse Eisenberg, too, so maybe we got like a thing going on here,
Oh,
Jack.
maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Anyway,
I'm going to make you drink piss. That's what's going to happen.
long story short, he supposedly he has a mullet. Supposedly he's shooting with a mullet, which means they were clearly borrowing a lot from the Death of Superman in
Yeah.
Batman v Superman, straight from the comics, the coffin and the funeral, everything.
Yeah.
It looks like the mullet wasn't really a Death of Superman thing. The mullet was a 90s thing.
Can I-
Superman has a mullet, but it looks like they're bringing that back as an homage to the Death of Superman.
Definitely. And can I make a confession here on this podcast?
You like the mullet?
I like the
I like the
mullet.
mullet too.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
into the
I like the
mullet.
mullet too.
Because
I like
it's
the 90s look of Superman.
It's not like a mullet like a NASCAR fan, like traditional like business in the front, party in the back mullet. It's like a flowing,
It's long hair.
wavy,
It's long hair,
like
yeah.
It's flowing.
it works for him.
If anybody can pull it off, it should be an alien guy who's
Yeah.
living on planet
Yeah.
Earth. Because not a lot
Absolutely.
of guys can pull it off. Let's just be honest.
No, yeah.
So if you're from
Batman can't pull
Krypton
off that mullet.
and you're here being powered by the sun,
Yeah.
why can't your hair be flowing?
Yeah,
and
those
just-
follicles
Absolutely.
are getting that
that's
yellow
it.
sun rays.
Because his
Yeah,
hair
yeah.
grows faster
Exactly.
than normal hair. It can't be
What are
tamed
you
by
gonna-
mortal scissors.
You think
No,
that blue
no.
barbicide is going to cut it? Maybe if
No,
it was
no, no.
green
And,
cryptocide.
and how can you really set up the contrast between a bald Lex Luthor than a Superman?
Oh,
with
wow, that's a
flowing-
great point.
I
Yeah.
flowing
never
locks.
even
The
thought
yin
about
to
that.
his
You're
yang.
so right.
That's it.
Yeah, perfect.
Also, a lot of people giving shit about the Nicolas Cage Superman movie that never happened because
Right. Death
what
Return of
very
Superman.
few images we have.
Fantastic
Nicolas
documentary,
Cage had,
though.
yeah.
I agree. Great documentary.
And Nicolas Cage had long hair when they were doing the screen test, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, that would have been a terrible Superman movie. Look at that mullet." First of all, I'm pretty sure that was just because they were screen tests and he hadn't cut his hair
I'm
yet.
sure he was filming Con Air still.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
But after I watched this documentary and I saw the screen test,
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked the
kinda
Nicolas
liked it
Cage
too.
hair. I
I
was
kinda
like,
liked
you know
it
what?
too.
Give him the receding hairline. Give him the long. I like when Superman looks like me, just like Henry Cavill.
Just exactly
I
like
want a
Henry
Superman
Cavill.
with a receding hairline,
That's it.
missing two bottom teeth.
Yep.
A slight
blending
overbite.
in.
Yeah, a lot of arm hair. Like that's the Superman I can relate to.
Yes, of course. We can all relate
Black
to that,
poop.
Superman. Well, I mean, we don't know that Superman has brown poops. He's just an alien.
Again,
we have
true.
no idea what color his poop is.
When are they going to do that?
I'm waiting for that issue to come out. Good Lord.
So a lot to unpack.
A
through-
lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Just going back to the death of Superman, and I want to talk about the actual storyline, but the current Superman comics, the continuity of the DC universe right now is kind of crazy and weird, and I'm not reading this stuff. I'm just kind of hearing about it secondhand.
I keep up with all the continuities through Wikipedia.
I keep
Yeah.
up through like
smart.
comics news
Yeah,
and
that's
things.
smart. I know what you're about to say, too.
Basically, everything they're revisiting everything that happened in Death of Superman in
Yeah.
like a remixed, different kind of way. Like the Eradicator is back in Superman comics.
The new Superman
Which is the
the old
cyborg
Superman.
dude. Yes.
Well, he was.
Right.
There were two different.
Oh,
There
okay.
were
Oh,
four.
man.
There were four
Reign of the
Superman
Superman.
Ski
replacements.
goggles. Was it the ski goggles?
He was.
All right.
Yeah,
There
the
was
Eradicator
Superboy,
was.
Man of Steel,
Yeah.
Eradicator, and Cyborg.
The,
And
yeah,
Cyborg
the
Superman,
ski goggles guy was like secretly
That was
rooting he
Eradicator.
was going to be the real one. Like,
Spoiler alert: he turned out to be like the super bad guy.
I thought Cyborg was.
Well,
He
Cyborg
killed 7
Superman,
million people.
He blew up Coast City.
That's a lot.
And Hal
that's
Jordan
pretty bad.
became infected by the Parallax Demon and killed a bunch of Green Lanterns.
pretty bad.
and
pretty
Shaquille
bad.
O'Neal got a movie out of it.
O'Neal starred in the film.
That's the bottom line there.
Yeah.
Judd Nelson was the villain.
Was he really?
Wow. Yeah.
I did not know that. I've never
Yeah.
seen Steel. I would love to
It's
watch
terrible.
it, actually.
It's terrible.
I hope that's not a category. We should
that should
not
be a
give
sync point.
honor to the Steel movie.
I think that should be a sync point one day, Jack.
I would love to do it. Yeah.
But yeah, they're redoing all of the Superman stuff because
Everything old is new again. Okay.
that's definitely true. And there's a lot of nostalgia because I think
90s
it's
nostalgia.
I was going to say it's the 20. That's probably like the 23rd anniversary of Death of Superman. So it's
94,
kind of
wasn't
weird.
it?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
93,
Yeah,
94.
I think so.
So I don't know why they're doing it. Maybe just because of Batman v Superman. But they did this whole DC Universe New 52 thing in 2011 where the universe got rebooted.
They reboot it every like 3 years now.
Pretty much, but the Superman. This is real confusing. The Superman from the
90s
universe, mullet Superman
Yeah.
who died and fought Doomsday and all that. He's back.
Yeah, and
he's
now
the only part of that universe
Not only
that's still
that,
around.
he's now the new legit Superman because the new 52 Superman
he
died.
died, yeah,
there was
yeah.
a new death of Superman that was permanent. They actually killed off Superman.
Right.
But it's like, don't worry, we got this old Superman from the 90s back around.
Yes.
And he has a mullet.
So he's got the. I was just going to say, who has the mullet?
They've all got
that's
mullets
ultimately
now.
the. All right. So
Well,
now
if new
Batman's sticking one under his cowl,
new
like I
Superman
got this
comes
mullet.
back,
Yeah.
he should have a mullet too.
He totally should have a mullet.
We could
And
have a battle of the mullets.
the black and gray unitard Superman costume
Yeah,
without a cape.
which is also going to be in Batman v Superman.
yes, I think I saw a picture
they're
of
going
that or
full
something.
out.
But
They're,
Like
they're
you
full
see-
out doing the 94 Death of Superman, which I always thought should have been. I know this is a story I know really well, basically because I read the very large novelization.
oh, did you?
Yeah.
Of Death of Superman?
Yeah, the
Really?
entire arc,
Nice.
and I think it was better that way rather than like going across all the comics. And I don't even know what's made up by the novelist and
Right.
what was in the comics because it goes into some really crazy details. But I always thought that should have been an HBO miniseries where the first 3, 4, 5 episodes is Doomsday just making his way to Smallville, wiping the floor with the Justice League.
Right.
Then you have a big battle with Superman. Episode 6, they is the entire episode, 1 hour, huge battle in Metropolis, ends with both of them dying. Then you do
Full
the
Game
reign
of
of
Thrones
Superman for the
style,
next
yeah.
6 episodes, where Superboy, Steel, Cyborg, and Eradicator all compete for the throne.
I'm into this. This sounds awesome.
Because
Yeah.
they tried twice to do it in movies since then. Superman Returns tacked it on at the end. We
Right.
talked about this in our
That's
sync
right.
points.
We did.
That was terrible. And the Batman v Superman botched it.
Also tacked it on at the end, kind
Yeah,
of. Like,
exactly.
I'm Lex Luthor. I'm going to make Doomsday for some
That's
reason.
and you're not doing it justice that way.
Justice League.
League.
Yeah.
Dawn of Justice.
You're not doing it. The death of Superman
No.
should be a whole
Should-
thing.
Should
It
be
should
a
be a
whole
story,
thing.
yeah.
Which makes me think of another angle, another comic book thing of
Sure.
the '90s that they condensed criminally, which I thought was bullshit.
Venom?
Was The Dark Knight Rises?
yeah.
Dark Knight
Let's
Rises,
take the
yes.
whole Nightfall saga, which was like a year-long thing, just like the death
Yeah.
of Superman. I think guy breaks his back. This guy comes out of nowhere. He's on steroids. He's all roid raged up.
Yep.
Breaks Batman over his knee.
Yep.
Batman takes forever to recover. They bring in a new guy to be Batman.
Jean-Paul Valet.
There you go.
Azrael.
There you go. 10 points
the
right
Order
there.
of Saint Dumas.
Who was like Azrael.
yeah.
Yes. And here in this movie, Chris Nolan, well, I'm not going to say anything bad about him as a filmmaker.
course not.
But in a movie sense, it's like 20 minutes, it's like a 30-minute thing in this 3-hour
Yep.
movie.
Yeah.
And now he's back and
Not only that,
I'm taking you over the city.
another no, that was
Not
pretty
part
good.
of Nightfall either.
That was pretty good. Another novelization I read and I'm much more familiar with is No Man's Land, which is
you actually have read the No Man's Land
I think I
novelization.
might still have it.
If
And
you have it, I want to borrow it. I always look for it in a used bookstore.
I might
It's
have
supposed
gotten
to be
rid of
very
it at a
good.
yard sale.
Damn
Anyway,
you.
that's actually a big arc from after it was from 98, 99, where an earthquake levels Gotham City, and the government says, you know what, we can't even fix it. We're roping it off. It is no man's land. There's no law.
Right.
And some people are stuck. They're poor. They can't get out of the city. So Gordon and a few other people go, well, we're going to stick around to protect them. And Batman is missing because Bruce Wayne is actually trying to raise money outside of Gotham to rebuild it.
And that was also kind of
And
tied
that's
into
what I was
Dark
going
Knight
to say.
Rises.
So that's almost a whole trilogy, let alone
Right.
at least a
That what
movie.
they did.
And they combined two
They
of the
took-
biggest
I
Batman
didn't
stories.
even know
Because
that.
you have
And put it
everyone
into the third
stranded in
act of a
Gotham.
movie.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's like, what do you think?
Like-
Like, why shoot your wad? I mean, if I'm Nolan, I can see doing it because you're like, well, I'm only doing one more movie. I want to do everything I want to do.
Sure.
But you would think the executive Warner Brothers would be like, no, we need to
We
save
could
some
they
of
could
that.
get
Chris.
like 3 movies out of all that. Like, yeah.
I mean, I will say I do like The Dark Knight Rises. I think it's probably the weakest of those 3 movies.
No, Batman Begins weakest.
Really?
I don't like Batman Begins at all.
I don't
Really?
like. Well, I like it a little bit.
Is it
but
the Liam Neeson switcheroo
funny.
at the end that you just
It's
Ken Watanabe
just-
and like
I
it's
thought you
actually
liked
me?
Batman Begins more than I did.
I liked it more on the third or fourth watch. I started like the things I hated about it, that I was fervently hating about it, have passed in 11 years. Time.
Sure, yeah. Because I
just-
don't love it. Like people love that movie, and
Yeah.
I'm always like, it's okay.
I mean,
But-
I don't like the end. It has a classic comic book
It's the
third act where the whole city's
Tringle,
blowing up.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Right.
and
they're riding horses for some reason. All
Yeah.
it
the
just
time.
felt, I don't know, it just felt kind of meh to me. And whereas Dark Knight is one of my favorites. I just
Oh,
rewatched
yeah,
it the other
that's-
night for the first time in a few years, and I
yeah.
was just like, every
Amazing.
scene, I'm just
It's
like,
so
The bar of a superhero movie, yeah, for sure.
It still
Yeah.
holds up.
Yeah, definitely.
Dark Knight Rises, I was disappointed with because Dark Knight was so high.
so good, yeah.
Right.
I've watched it a second and third time. I really like it. I think it's not as nearly as good as Dark Knight, but it's a really good movie.
I mean,
it
it's
has
tough.
huge plot holes too.
Yeah, Dark Knight is essentially a perfect movie.
Yeah.
And Dark Knight Rises has a lot of problems, but there's so much that's good in it, and a lot of the
Yeah.
performances are really, really good. I always like Joseph Gordon-Levitt and everything. He's
fine.
he's just always
Why
good.
don't you call yourself Robin?
Use your birth name. But it's funny that like so many of these things from the 90s, like I would say the 90s in comics was signified like definitely the chromium covers and all the like gimmicks and things, but it was a time where things were just crazy.
Yes.
Like Spider-Man has a clone, and
Yes.
then like Spider-Man is Carnage, and like there's all this like nonsense stuff happening. It's just like, let's throw everything in but the kitchen sink in, and then let's throw in the kitchen sink too.
Yeah.
I feel like they're doing a little bit of that again
In the
now.
movies? Oh, in the
And,
comics.
yeah,
movie.
and
Well,
they don't have. I mean, you
sometimes
said
in the
you
movies.
weren't familiar with it, but basically in the early '90s, every hot artist that was drawing comics at the time,
Right.
they just picked up and left Marvel and
Right.
formed their own comic book company. So Spawn came out, and all these other comics came
Is
out.
that Dark Horse?
Youngblood, that's
Image.
Image
Okay.
Comics. So you had
Yeah.
that going on. Then Marvel, goes with the clone stuff, and DC
Yeah.
kills Batman, kills Superman to counteract it. Like, oh, these sales aren't from us. We're going to kill our main guys.
Yeah.
So this whole thing happened in the '90s. But what just popped in my head is we're talking movies now, related to the '90s comics.
Sure.
The biggest one going right now is Deadpool, and Deadpool was created.
Deadpool
By
was
Liefeld,
created
right?
by Rob
In the
Liefeld
90s.
like 1988, I think.
all
But
right,
he
all
certainly
right.
came to prominence,
prominence,
in the
He's
90s.
a parody
All
of
right.
Deathstroke, right?
So-
same costume, same name, same
Yes.
I
face.
like this. We're getting deep. I like this. I like
Deathstroke
this.
is
Slade Wilson.
Slade Wilson, yes.
I do know that. Yes.
Villain of the Teen Titans in DC. He was
Right.
on the Arrow show in the first 2 seasons. He was like kind of the big
I
bad
think
of
he
Arrow.
might be the villain in Son of the Batman, one of the new DC animated movies.
Right, so he's like a mercenary, kind of a badass. He's got this like iconic costume. He has a sword, and then Rob Liefeld created Deadpool instead of Deathstroke. Deadpool. I don't really know what Deadpool
dead
means.
equals death,
I
and
guess.
stroke equals pool.
I guess. And Deadpool's name
They'll
is
never know.
Wade Wilson instead of Slade
Yes,
Wilson.
that's what I love.
And he has 2 swords.
Yeah, and the same
instead
costume.
Of one. And yeah, it's weird. Like in the Deadpool movie, they really go to a lot of pains. Even in the first Wolverine movie, they go to a lot of pains to explain why his name is Deadpool.
Oh,
Because
yeah, yeah.
it doesn't make
matter.
any
Yeah,
sense.
it
It's
doesn't matter.
It
Just
sounds
who cares?
cool.
Yeah. That's it.
Which was definitely a Rob Liefeld thing in the 90s. Like
Yes.
Cable.
Yes.
Like Cable doesn't mean anything. It's just
and the
Cable
belts
sounds
and
cool.
the ankle belts and,
Oh,
the,
yeah.
and the, all
Oh,
the
yeah.
stuff everybody was wearing, the big guns, the big swords.
Yeah. I actually just saw, it was announced today when we're recording this, so last week when you guys are listening to this, that they are relaunching Youngblood.
Really?
Yeah, like totally redesigned. Like
And
this-
what is Youngblood?
Youngblood was Rob Liefeld was doing X-Force for X-Men, and then when the whole Image thing happened and he walked out, he created Youngblood, who was essentially X-Force,
Yeah,
Okay.
it was, yeah.
but creator owned.
Yes.
X-Force is...
the hair color's
They've
different.
been
right,
trying to
right.
get X-Force off the ground for a while. I think they're coming very close to it right now
Yes,
because the
supposedly.
first class era of X-Men has pretty much run its course.
Right.
Is that why Ron Perlman? I think it's Ron Perlman sending those tweets like all the time. Like,
Oh.
I look great as this, and it's Cable.
He wants
Yeah.
to play Cable. Yeah,
like, right. And
Now,
then-
I heard that they were thinking about somebody for Cable, and it's slipping my
what's his
mind
face?
who it was.
Commissioner Gordon in the new Batman movie. Fucking J.
Commissioner
Jonah
Gordon.
Jameson.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
J.K. Simmons?
Yeah,
J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
No, not for...
There supposedly
Not
he
for
was
Cable.
also in the
I
mix
like.
for Cable.
Is it Stephen Lang? Is that the
Yeah,
guy?
Stephen
I've been
Lang.
seeing him on those new trailers for that blind that
Yeah,
horror movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
He looks like he'd be Cable.
That
He
movie
would
looks
be a-
awesome,
he
by
would
the
be a
way. I can't
decent
wait to see that
Cable,
movie.
yeah.
Don't Breathe.
I
That
think
looks
Bruce
so good.
Willis was up for Cable, was a fan favorite for Cable like 10, 15 years ago.
Sure, that would make sense. But yeah, all
I
of
don't
these people
sign
I
up
can
for a
see is
bald.
good.
I'm sorry, I don't sign up for a bald Cable. Sorry, Bruce Willis.
We can throw a
I
wig
want
on
a
him.
Cable with a mullet.
That's it.
Hairy
That's it.
arms, receding
Can Nicolas
hairline.
Cage just do it? Because I think somehow.
Actually, that was a joke, but that would be awesome. I
Nicolas
could totally
Cage would
see.
be a fucking awesome
He'd need to
Cable.
bulk up a little bit to hit those
Yeah,
Levian
the Con Air
proportions.
diet. The Con Air diet.
Con
That'll be
Air
fine.
diet. Look, Cable in the comics is like a mountain person.
But
like a mountain that walks.
Well, he
like Game of
debuted in
Thrones.
the 90s, and
Yeah.
everybody in the 90s was. So back to the mullet.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who were like, "Oh, Superman shouldn't be that big and strong. He's Superman. He doesn't need to be this big muscle-bound guy to be strong."
Right.
So then in the 2000s, they slimmed him back
They
down.
did slim him
But
down, yeah.
Cardio.
I like the mullet, and I like the bulky look.
I like the mullet. I
I
do
like muscles
kind of,
on my men.
I kind of agree
Who
with
can
those.
argue with that?
Like Superman, his strength doesn't come from his muscles. It
Right.
comes from his
He
alien,
doesn't need the
alien
muscles.
body.
He doesn't need the muscles.
But really, it comes from his character. It's the
Right.
strength of character
Yeah,
that
that's
Superman
it.
represents. Not in the Zack Snyder movies where he's just like, everyone hates me and everything's terrible.
Well,
I let my dad die.
Don't come and get me. This tornado. Let this tornado come get me. All right.
All right, whatever. Bye, Dad.
If only his name was Martha.
Oh,
Why'd you say that name?
well, there we go. Is that the
Can we-
transition we're looking
yeah,
for? Is that
You want to go back
Can
to
we
the
talk
market
about
talk?
how stupid the ending of Batman v Superman? First of all,
Real bad.
First of all, the whole movie was a big letdown.
To say the least. That's being kind.
I've found myself over the years becoming a Man of Steel apologist. I think the movie's underrated. I think there's a lot of it that gets it right.
Right. I hated Man of
I think
Steel.
Zack-
as
This
our
is the
listeners might
broken
know.
neck of Zod at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah. No. I'm going to forgive that.
It's not-
Continue.
it's
I'm
not
not
just
trying
that.
to. I
It's
just want to make sure I have
everything.
the right Superman movie,
Yes.
not the Brandon Routh.
Yeah,
Right.
Although
Brendan
I will
Routh.
say this about the broken neck. In the comics, he kills Zod too, and it's this same moment where he's like, "Oh my God, Zod drew me to death." Except it was a much bigger deal because he didn't just become Superman.
Right.
So that's one of the problems with Man of Steel. But there's a lot of Man of Steel I like. The things I don't like is pretty much Zack Snyder and his lack of emotion. But
Right.
And the tornado killing
Or
Kevin
lack of
Costner.
humor or
Yeah.
color.
But I really do like Man of Steel. I find it very watchable. At least here's the thing: I've rewatched it a bunch of times, but I never. It's a long movie. I've never rewatched the third act Metropolis destruction scene.
Yeah.
So I think that also plays into why I don't hate it as much as people.
Probably.
Anyway, I think compared to Batman v Superman, it's much better. Batman v Superman. I went in. I was like, I'm gonna like this movie because I like Man of Steel. Terrible movie.
Yeah.
Terrible. I love Ben Affleck. I still think Henry Cavill can be a good Superman if he tries. He has a better director.
Yeah.
But it's just a bad movie. And I'll say this. It's a million times better than Suicide Squad.
Oh boy.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen Suicide Squad yet,
Me
but
either.
I did see Batman vs Superman, and I came in. I watched it on an airplane on my way home
Which is
from,
not
from
the way
Japan.
you should be watching a Zack Snyder
Not the best
film.
way to
Yeah,
watch it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I went into it saying I'm gonna hate this, but I have to watch it
Right,
because
right.
you know
That's
I'm
why
a
I
big
saw
nerd.
Suicide
Where
Squad.
else are
Gotta
you gonna
watch
see
it.
it? Yeah.
And yeah, I was stuck on a plane for 14 hours. I need to watch something
Yeah,
that's
that's
going
half
to take
your
up some time.
plane ride right
yeah,
there.
right.
That, a Zack Snyder movie.
And I watched it.
That was
and
just the intro. Collateral damage.
Nothing was as good as taking off in an airplane for 14 hours while Metropolis is being destroyed. I didn't feel weird at
The
all.
day the Earth met the Superman.
Yeah, but I gotta say, I hated it more than I thought I would. I thought it was even worse
It was just
than
so
advertised.
dumb. It was just
like,
so
it was just
dumb.
bad.
That's why I didn't like Suicide Squad.
Wonder
A lot of
Woman was
people, I
good.
just want because
Yeah.
we're gonna get comments. A lot of friends whose opinions I like actually say, "Oh, it's not that bad." So maybe I'm wrong on this. I just found it really stupid and I didn't like it.
All of Suicide Squad.
Suicide
you're saying.
Squad,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't understand how you can have a movie with characters like Joker and Harley Quinn and somebody as charismatic as Will Smith and have a movie be so fucking boring.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I haven't seen it yet, so I
pretty
cannot
damning.
comment.
But I might be wrong. I only saw it once, and people say, "Oh, it wasn't that bad."
I mean, it came out that they did 2 cuts of the movie, and there was kind of the
I-
more serious
I-
cut and then the jokier cut, which is what they released.
But the
I
fact
never-
they have to go that far when you literally have
Exactly.
the Joker on
Yeah,
screen,
that's true.
and we've
It's in his
seen the
name.
incarnations that have been done by Cesar Romero, Nicholson, and
Hamill.
Ledger.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right.
Hamill's voice alone, and
Absolutely.
you actually make a movie with a guy who he won the Academy Award, right?
He
Leto?
did.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
did.
And everyone's looking
he didn't have
forward
to
to
die
it,
for it.
and you're telling me, it was boring. I mean, that just says right there.
That's what was shocking. Yeah.
Something's wrong in the equation without me even seeing it.
The first
Right,
2/3 of
exactly.
the movie, I was just like, I'm going to tell everybody, I can't believe how boring this movie. It's more boring than it is dumb. I thought it was going to be dumb and it's boring. And then the last third of the movie is like, no, it's also really dumb.
Yeah.
But
So I'm not in a rush to see it. I
Yeah.
will wait until I can watch
my
it for free
biggest
somehow.
nitpicking thing of Batman vs Superman, and someone I think more into the lineage and the history of comics was like correcting me, saying, "No, that's actually how it is." why was Metropolis and Gotham City literally
They're
like
not that close.
a
They are
stone's
not- they
throw
are
away?
not that close
It's like a
in the
lake.
DC world.
There's,
Yeah.
there's a river
It's
in
like
between
it's
them.
like Hoboken and Manhattan.
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah.
like,
right,
why?
right.
Why would he need to? He could save both cities
And
at
did
the
you
same
guys
time.
have
Why
the
would he
same
do that?
experience as me, where you didn't get that impression at all, and then at the beginning of the third act, where Batman and Superman start fighting, you suddenly see the bat signal from Metropolis. You're like,
Yeah,
you're like,
it's like,
wait a
wait,
second,
what? Yeah,
no, that's what
definitely.
Bloodhaven should be in the comics. Bloodhaven, basically, Gotham City is supposed to be like Atlantic City, like South Jersey, or maybe Philly. And
You're
it's
saying
in New
in
Jersey.
the atlas of the DC
In the
universe.
Atlas of the
Yeah,
DC
yeah,
universe,
That's
Gotham
pretty
City
accurate.
is in South Jersey. It's in New Jersey, but I guess it more represents Philly.
Right.
Whereas Bloodhaven's even worse. It represents Camden. It's like right on the other side of the river.
Got it.
I never really
Which makes
agreed.
Metropolis New York City. See, I was always
Although I think in the comics, Metropolis is in the Midwest.
I'm
it's
thinking
also
Chicago,
in Kansas.
yeah,
Well,
I'm
no,
picturing like a
Chicago
Chi-
is where Suicide Squad takes place, but not Chicago. What is it?
Central City?
Central City, not
Something
the
like
Flash's
that.
City.
Keystone City.
Maybe Keystone City.
Central City is actually Green Lantern.
It's
Star
no,
City.
This one has no major superhero affiliated
Gotcha.
with it, but yeah, that's
Yeah, I
supposed to
don't
be
know.
there,
City.
Chicago.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's something that like DC when they after Crisis and they kind of tied all of these things together. I thought it was dumb that they brought in the real world places. It's like, oh, not only do we have Gotham, but
Right.
there's also
Yeah.
a New
But
York.
you have to do
And
that
there's a Los
because there's so
Angeles.
much real history that you can't just ignore.
I guess.
But yeah, I agree. Because now you have in DC, the United States has like 30 major cities.
Exactly,
I think
yeah.
Kansas City on the map would be right around where Metropolis is.
You just do what Marvel did, and everything happens
Everything.
in New York.
That's it. I was
Exactly.
just going to
It's
say,
all New York.
talk about doing it right versus a company that's like, how do we do this? How do we navigate this?
Yeah.
They're right next to each other. They're literally across a pond. And Superman can't hear what's going on in
Yeah, no,
Gotham.
that's
Yeah,
so
right.
And never
stupid.
feels the impulse to save anybody that close to him.
No.
Batman's got it.
Yeah,
right.
And like
Yeah,
Batman
he's
could just
shooting
be
people,
the hero in
he's killing
Metropolis
people.
too. Why
Right.
would he not
Why
go
is
to
he-
Metropolis?
I gotta save Gotham. I can't. Metropolis is someone else's
I
problem.
don't like boats.
Martha!
And if he was that close, couldn't he just go to Bruce Wayne, like the cemetery, and be like, Thomas and Martha Wayne? It's the name of my mother.
Yeah.
Because this whole thing. This whole thing.
Yeah, yeah,
When you're right on top
I
of
mean-
each other, Christ Almighty! I literally commute farther than Superman had to go
That's right.
to fight
And,
Batman.
and Luther's like, I hit her. You're never going to find her and save this city at the same time. I'm like,
Got her.
Yep. I'm
over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take the express line.
So
You'll get there.
can we keep dancing around it? Can we talk about Martha?
Yeah, Martha,
All
Martha,
right.
Martha. Let's do it. Yeah, so I have to imagine. I think that Batman v Superman was written by David Goyer. Is that correct?
It was also when Ben Affleck was cast, he brought in somebody
Chris
from
Terrio.
my street, from my neighborhood in Staten
really?
Island.
I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
knew
he's
he
from-
was an Islander.
He's from Midland Beach.
Okay.
That's not
Yeah.
a pseudonym for Kevin Smith. That's a real person.
No,
Okay.
I think actually Kevin Smith would have done a better job.
Yeah, Chris Terrio broke my heart because I always wanted to be the first big screenwriter to come out of Staten Island, and then not only did he do that, but he came from literally like around the corner from where I grew up. So I
I
can't
didn't
even
know
be
that.
because I come from like a really shitty neighborhood in Staten Island, like a town full of people who steal bologna. And,
That's true.
Like
and
the
I
real
was
life
always like, well, at
Bloodhaven?
least So I was like, at least I could be the first screenwriter out of there. And he knocked them both out. And anyway, he did this movie with Glenn Close called Heights, and then
Okay.
he wrote Argo,
Right. Which he
and
won the Academy Award
yeah,
for.
exactly.
Yeah.
So now he's a big shot, and Ben Affleck uses him for everything, and he's a really talented guy. So I was excited when he rewrote Batman v Superman. Ben Affleck was like, "I want this to be more character focused," and blah blah blah.
Do you think he added all the P stuff?
I think Terrio added the Martha stuff. I think he was like, "All right, where's the emotional hook?"
Maybe.
And then he was like, "What can I use?" Oh, they're both mothers, which have always been the case since
Yeah.
1939.
Right.
Batman and Superman both have mothers named Martha. So, and he's like, "Oh, I could use this." Which just leave it alone. Leave it as like a fun coincidence. They're
Yeah.
comic book moms. Their
Right.
name's Martha. That's how it works.
It's something that probably should have been like a joke or like a one-off thing.
Yeah.
Like I could see it as a way for them to bond somehow and be like, "Oh, your mother's
Yeah, like,
name is Martha.
like-
oh,
like
you
save
have a
the earth."
mother.
Yeah.
You're just like me." And
Some
like,
conversation like when they're walking to the action.
Right.
Yeah.
The way it happens in the movie, if you guys haven't seen it, is Batman is beating the shit
it's
out of
literally
Superman.
like on his death. Yeah,
Batman
like
won.
it's-
He's
Right.
he's
Yeah.
about to do the finishing blow.
Super-
Doesn't he like
Superman's-
the Krypton gloves? Like even
Yeah.
like he's going for it.
Yeah, Superman's mother, Martha Kent, has been kidnapped by Lex Luthor, and Superman's dying breath, he just says, Martha. Like you do. You say your mother's name right before you die.
Well, I think he was trying to say save Martha, but he still would have said save my mom. save my mother.
Batman doesn't know who Martha is.
Yeah.
Cal.
He doesn't know who Martha is, but the reason he had to save Martha is because literally the entire reason Batman does a full 180 and goes, you know what? I realize now the error of my way. Superman's a good guy. The whole movie, 2.5 hours, is built up of Batman justifying why he needs to kill Superman.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong. He's just like, this guy's too powerful. So we got to take him just to be preemptive. If there's a 1% chance Superman turns evil, we have to take him out now while we can.
Right.
He builds an entire movie building this case, throws all of that out of the window because his mom's also named Martha.
And Batman does a complete 180.
What did you say? Why'd you say that name? Why'd you say that name?
My mother's name is Martha.
What? God. So is mine.
All right. I'm sorry.
It was a common name in the 30s. Leave it alone.
It's just a coincidence, and then Batman kills him.
George Washington's
That's how
my
it
favorite
should've-
president.
And that's basically what he picks him up off the ground.
Yeah. And
Sorry
then
for
he's
hitting
like,
you.
he's like, oh shit, bro, I'm sorry. I didn't know your mom was name was Martha.
It's such a level of stupidity that it amazes me that. I mean, Zack Snyder, I can see going, oh, that's great. But Chris Terrio, Ben Affleck, the powers that be at Warner Brothers. I don't think Nolan had too much to do with this as much as he did Man of Steel. But you think like somebody's wife would they read the screenplay while I was sitting on the bed.
Right. Jennifer Garner, where are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Step in.
That's why they divorced. She goes,
Yeah.
I think
She was
this
like, I
Martha
think
thing
it's
is
dumb.
stupid.
Yeah.
You're stupid. I want a divorce. Martha's the best part of the movie. I have a screenwriting Academy Award. I got to be 2 superheroes. You only got to be 1. Get out.
I would guarantee that someone realized that both of their mom's name was Martha and was like, guys, that's it. That's the whole movie right there. And it was probably like Zack Snyder or someone of an equally high rank on the film, and no one could question them. And
I'm
they were just
picturing
like,
some
okay.
like 21-year-old intern who reads the scripts for $10 an hour, and he's just like, "Oh no, this is horrible." And he's like, he's like, "All right, today's the day. I'm going to go up to Mr. Snyder and I'm going to tell him this is a bad idea, and he's going to respect me for it."
Yeah.
Mr. Snyder, I have this opinion. Get me my coffee. Okay, I'm sorry.
Get out of here, kid. I directed Owls of Gahul.
That's a good movie.
I've never seen it.
They came so close, and
Yeah.
it was so
They came
it's just so
far.
stupid. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's real stupid. So don't watch it if you haven't seen it. End of spoilers for Batman v Superman.
There we go.
But I mean, do you guys have a lot of faith in the upcoming DC movies?
Well,
Wonder Woman looks pretty good, I think. But
they've certainly
She looks pretty
retooled
good.
she looks great.
She looks fantastic.
And she was one of the
but-
only good parts
Yes,
of Batman v
I would
Superman.
agree.
I mean, I think everybody gives her a lot of good credit for it because she just didn't have any bad scenes.
She's surrounded by shit.
there
Something
was
has to
nothing
grow.
for her to do. What did she do? That was so
Something
good.
must grow
What,
in the
what did
shit
she
of
do
that
that was
movie.
so
in the
good?
invisible jet during that movie? I almost
The
can't
entire
remember.
time.
Okay.
You just couldn't see it.
Am I making it up?
I don't
in my
think they-
head.
I don't think the
Am
jet
I
is in
like
there.
somehow just?
I think they said there might not be an invisible jet, although they'll throw it in. David Goyer is such an asshole, and he's just like he picks the stupidest things for his comic book movies, and he justifies them. But he's also like a big proponent of, oh, I'm trying to make this in the real world. You know, I want a gritty comic book
Rooted
movie
in reality.
that exists in
Right.
reality. And he's just like, oh, who was it? Oh, Martian Manhunter. He's like, there's not going to be any Martian Manhunter in any script I write because you can't. That's not real. You can't make that real.
Right.
That's dumb.
He's
Meanwhile-
an alien from another planet.
Yeah.
Alien
Meanwhile,
of Zod's DNA
Superman movies.
Yeah, exactly.
decomposing in a
you
factory.
You have in Doomsday
Doomsday.
that just happens with a magic potion. You have your entire multi-universe start off with this, I think, a really cool scene in Krypton with like flying dragons and laser guns. I don't
I
understand how
disagree
you,
that it's cool, but that's besides the
but
point.
I
Well, the
don't
flashback scene, or that the flash
first act,
forward,
basically,
or the
of Man
flashback
of
scene
Steel.
in Batman vs Superman. Remember the whole thing with the
I do remember
flying
it.
guys
The flying
and the
wasp.
Batman shooting people.
Parademons.
That was really confusing.
Trench
Yes.
coat Batman. Yeah, it's
Flash
I hated
popping out.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it was really misplaced.
Yeah.
And it came out of nowhere, and it was super confusing.
Because that's their attempt, like, oh, Marvel does this thing where a bunch of movies lead up to one another. Let's do that, but like, how can we do it? Because we've already jumped ahead to doing the
Except
Avengers
Marvel-
movie.
It took about 10 years to get to that
Right,
point.
exactly.
And Marvel had that exact same scene, more or less, in Avengers 2 with Thor in a lake, and they cut it out because they're like, well, this doesn't make any sense in this movie. And
Yeah.
they cut it out. And
Yeah.
DC left it in.
And good,
Yep.
and good on that. Because I mean, think about it. If Captain America or Iron Man failed, you
Yeah.
wouldn't have had all these creations since then.
Right.
This whole
Absolutely.
initiative to roll all
Thank
these
God they
characters
didn't.
out.
I thought
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk
So
was pretty
DC's like,
bad,
we're
but-
doing 10 films no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter, we're doing these 10
we're
films.
locked
Instead
in.
of just taking it one by one and seeing where they're going.
And now
at.
there's just they're worried because now they've had 3 for 3 movies get bad reviews and
DC?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And,
Well,
but
now
they're l're locked in. They have to do Justice
Suicide
League.
Squad versus Superman. That's the next one.
Ooh.
Batman will get his own, and they'll be like, well, they couldn't finish.
They're putting
what-
a lot on the Ben Affleck
I
Batman
think,
solo
yeah.
movie.
Because
yeah.
Batman's the only one
I
that's
think
ever
that's it.
made the
Yeah, I
money.
think that's the safest bet.
in
That's
the
all you
films.
can do, I think, at this
like
point.
Superman 1, like in 1979, and Superman 2, they made a lot of money, but then 3 and 4 were kind of garbage.
Yeah, it's the way it usually goes.
And then all of the Batman movies have done really well, except
Marvel
for
has
Batman and
like,
Robin.
Yeah, Marvel has like lightning in a bottle. The fact that they're going
Yeah.
like 14, 15 movies strong, and Civil War was like the best reviewed out of all of them.
Yeah.
That's like it's a miracle.
And
I hope they realize how lucky they are.
And Marvel's getting cocky with it too, which is something I really like. Where they're like, "Oh, you guys can't even make a good Superman movie. Here's a pretty good Ant-Man movie." Nobody gives a shit about Ant-Man. You cast Paul Rudd, you put it on Michael Douglas, you make it funny, and it makes $1 million.
I just watched somebody sent this to us on Twitter. I think. No,
Yeah.
somebody DM'd us on Facebook with this a couple
Okay.
hours ago, and I looked at it. Somebody sent me a Super Nintendo premiere commercial, like announcing the Super Nintendo, and it's
Okay.
a very young Paul Rudd starring in it. I mean,
That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah, and he's in like a jean jacket, and he's playing Super Nintendo.
Scott Lang
amazing.
himself,
Yeah, exactly.
the Ant-Man. Yeah,
No, I think the new Batman movies. This is fan speculation more than anything, more than insider speculation, which tends to be more right.
Sure.
But I supposedly under the Red Hood might be the plot, like Jason Todd coming back, because they hint that Robin is dead. In
They hint at
Batman.
it, yeah.
Suicide Squad explicitly says it.
Really?
I caught it just for there's a split second. They do bios of all the villains, and it said for Harley Quinn that she was an accomplice for Robin's murder. So
okay.
yeah.
All
So Robin's dead. So supposedly they'll set this up, even though they probably should have set it up explicitly if they want to do this. But the Batman movie might be about him coming back, which was a story arc in the comics.
You know, it's weird. I don't want
All
to
right,
harp
who do
on
I
this
got to
too
do
much.
for that casting call? What is that? Jason Todd. Let's do
You'd
it.
be a good Jason
Actually,
Todd.
think
you know
I
what?
could do it.
You would be a really good
Right?
Jason Todd.
Tell
I
I
can
got
see
the, I
it.
got the anger.
If you're listening,
I'll
watch
channel
Feed the Beast.
all those. Yeah.
Zack Snyder,
We
after
got
we
Gecko.
just told you how
That's
terrible you
right.
are at your
Yes,
job,
yes.
please cast
Listen, that's
Feed
right.
the Beast Gecko as
To be fair,
Jason
we
Todd's
were
Robin.
saying it. Evan was not saying anything
the
bad
entire
about
time
any
he was-
director
the
or
entire
casting
time
agent.
we were talking about Zack Snyder, he was actually off mic saying, "No, guys, he's really great," and
Yeah,
we turned his
that's right.
mic
we
off.
just
we Bill
we
O'Reilly'd
knew-
him.
It's exactly right.
Diplomat through and through.
We're bullies like that. This
But
is
he
the
would
no
be-
spin zone.
For that
Evan.
for that Watchmen sequel, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for that too.
Actually, can we go back
Back
way
to
back?
Dr. Manhattan.
I want to talk about Watchmen really quick because I was mentioning before in the comics now in DC they're going
Everything's
back.
all screwy.
They're going back to bringing back all the Death of Superman stuff. They are integrating Watchmen into the DC
Yeah,
universe.
Dr. Manhattan
you guys
is actually
both know
the
this.
one that's mixing all the
Supposedly,
comics together.
he's the one who like ruined everything, and there's going to be a big crossover thing. And I believe a character who many believe to be Ozymandias in disguise just brought back the Doomsday from the old universe too.
awesome.
Yeah,
See, this is
that
fun.
just happened. That just happened last week.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
it is fun.
it's literally like taking the toys out of your toy box and just like mashing them up together.
Kind of, and despite the fact that now I have a job and should have money, I don't have any money to actually buy these comics.
Yeah,
I only buy
that's the
comes when
problem.
they're on sale.
Yeah,
on
I wait till the
Comixology.
novelization's out.
That's it. That's
Listen
it.
to the audiobook.
That's it.
Absolutely.
That's it.
No, look, Watchmen is sacrosanct. It's this amazing book. It's fine. I'm very good with like compartmentalizing and going, Watchmen's a great thing by itself.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Mix them all into the
Yeah.
DC universe. It doesn't take away from
Big battle royal.
Matrix
do
3
it.
doesn't ruin Matrix 1 for me.
Yeah, it kind of does, though.
It did, but it
and it kind of ruins Watchmen a little bit. I never read any of the before Watchmen stuff.
Watchmen babies.
Watchmen babies. They did do a series of comics called Before Watchmen
Yeah.
because whatever the contract was with Alan Moore, they weren't
I
able
think it
to
was
do
an
a
extra
sequel.
fuck you to Alan Moore. Just like, hey, we're doing
mean,
Watchmen babies. Fuck
it's-
you, Alan Moore.
It's all a fuck you to Alan Moore.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know, Alan Moore is the writer of Watchmen and a lot of other very, very famous
Bad
comics
movies.
in the
He's a
80s
genius in
that were
comic
turned
book
into
writing.
bad movies. He's a genius. He's a phenomenal writer. He's a bit of an eccentric.
I think he's a bit of a pedophile.
No, he is not a pedophile.
You don't think so?
No.
Did you read his
You talking about
comic?
Lost Girls?
Yeah, it's pretty pedophilic.
It's
about,
graphic.
About 13-year-old girls
I didn't read it.
just doing sex things.
There's a jump to he's a pedophile from that.
I think he's murdered. I think he murders.
He murders and he's a pedophile. Jack's views, dude. Mr. Moore.
I'm just
This
speculating.
might make him come out of retirement.
You don't
this
want to
this
fuck with Alan
podcast
Moore.
right here.
He worships a snake god called Glyphon. That is not a joke.
That's well, all right.
Was that in the V for Vendetta deleted scenes? Did they cut that scene out?
Yeah. So anyway, that's what's going on with DC and Watchmen these days. But
I like that. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Why not?
It is what it is. We'll see how it goes. I don't want to judge it too harshly.
All right, I'll say this: if DC had been on an amazing run, where like the last 15 years of comics have just been top-notch, stellar, Infinite Crisis was even better than Crisis of the Infinite Earths.
It was not.
And I know. And like, well, basically, their comics have been shit, from what I understand. For like, they haven't really had any great series.
I wouldn't say that's true.
New 52, if like New 52 was as received as well as it had been, and 1 year later, and all that. If everything had been better than the last, then I would say don't bring Watchmen in. You know, you got a good thing
They're
going.
doing
Don't fuck
it
it up.
because they have to.
But
Yeah,
yeah, since it's
That's
already kind of
ultimately
shitty,
what it is.
have fun with it.
I just because people are listening to this and maybe thinking that comics are terrible, maybe someone's listening to this who used to be into comics and wants to get back into comics. I would say that Scott Snyder's Batman run is actually really good. I haven't read all of it. I've read Zero Year, which is the kind of off-the-wall crazy comic, but it's really, really done well. It's kind of like a Clone Saga type thing where it's crazy, but it's in the hands of one writer who knows what he's doing and is talented.
In one comic line, probably. I would
Exactly.
Say, not five, six, seven.
One linear story, not jumping through a bunch of titles.
Yeah.
Like, because we were talking a little bit before we even started recording about the Spider-Man Clone Saga, which we've talked about on the show before, but I've actually been reading it since we recorded that episode.
The plan has worked.
And it is a mess, and it's written by so many different people, and a bunch of it was just edicts coming from Marvel editorial being like, okay, people like this thing, we got to keep it going longer, we got to throw even more mysterious characters what are their connection to the clones, which is just what happened. Like, I stopped reading it because it got kind of boring.
And ultimately it was, they wanted to reintroduce the old Spider-Man to be the real Spider-Man, and then people weren't having it.
People weren't having
so
it.
The guy
the
we
clone
just said
was
the
going to be
clone.
really Spider-Man.
Yes.
And then they walked that back, and then eventually they just killed the clone.
You have to walk that back.
Thousands
though.
of dollars later.
You can't do something that like. You can't do something
like in
like
the
that.
70s
That's like
too,
killing
right, when that all
Superman
happened?
off and not bringing
yeah,
him
that was the
back.
early 70s.
Yeah, it was like, okay.
You always
so there's
have-
one guy there like, yes, finally they
I feel like with comics, there's a status quo that happens very early on, and you can't fuck with that.
See, but
Batgirl
that's-
is Barbara Gordon,
Yeah.
blah, 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 and you can change it for years, for decades, but eventually you got to go back. And every once in a while, they will change something. Like Harley Quinn is now canon, stuff like that. But
Well,
for
that's
the
not a change. They integrated her from the animated series.
But for the most part, it's hard to rewrite a new status quo.
I'll say this, though. You're saying, status quo and everything,
movies,
and all
yeah.
that's all good. But the Clone Saga was actually supposed to be a way to get back to the status quo, because Spider-Man for a long time had been dark and tortured, and like the whole black costume thing, and then Venom was around, and there was this weird thing where instead of beating Venom, Spider-Man was like, all right, Venom, we're going to have a truce where I'm not going to put you to jail, but you can't kill any more people. And a lot of people were mad about that and thinking like Spider-Man would never do that. Spider-Man always does the right thing. That's kind of like a moral gray area that we don't want our Spider-Man comics to go into. So this was going to be a way to change that and
makes
say,
sense.
oh, that wasn't really Spider-Man. Here's like Peter Parker with the heart of gold coming back.
All right, one quick thing.
Because he was really moody in the early 90s Spider-Man.
The biggest thing I think can change the status quo, and it shows you with the Batman anime series with Harley Quinn and Mr. Freeze, is the movies now.
Yeah.
I think that's changing things that have been more or less permanent. Like, Ant-Man has pretty much always been Hank Pym, and Scott Lang was like the second Ant-Man or whatever
He was the second Ant-Man.
But now, because
he was also dead, and then they brought him back because of the movie.
Exactly. Now that you have the movie, I could foresee a future where the definitive Ant-Man 50 years from now is Scott Lang and not Hank Pym.
I can
and
see that
kids
too.
won't have to learn how to say Pym. Because I do remember doing that as a kid. Like, how do you say that?
Well, the interesting thing with Hank Pym, with Hank Pym, is they kind of needed to distance himself from Hank Pym because one of his most famous scenes is him hitting his wife.
Right.
And they've done so many stories since then. That was like in the late 60s,
I mean, if
early
they're going to
70s.
half-ass Tony Stark's alcohol problem, then they're definitely not going to do a wife-beating storyline.
Right. Not to mention that he's yet another like blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy. Like he looks indistinguishable from Captain America or Hawkeye. He looks just like Jack.
Just
like Henry Cavill.
That's it.
That's exactly right.
So real quick about the different spreading over the different series.
Sure.
So I was telling you guys right before, but basically, the 1 year I've read comics regularly was a good friend of mine, Tom. Where we were sitting in the trunk of my mom's minivan. Which you could do when you're kids. It wasn't like a trunk. And he was, I remember
were trapped
we
in
had
the trunk.
so we had like this 25-minute ride home, which at the time felt like forever. And he was just explaining Batman to me, like Bane. He was explaining who Bane was. I think Batman and Robin had just come out, and I didn't know who Bane was. And I was a huge Batman fan, but I only knew him from the movies, from the TV show with Adam West, and the animated series. I didn't read a comic in my life. And he was explaining to me the death in the family. I didn't know there was a second Robin. Like, he was blowing my
We're up to
mind.
like 5 Robins
Yeah,
now.
no,
Right?
he
5 or
was
6.
he was blowing my mind with, like, the fact that there was a second Robin and who Bane was, and he was explaining Nightfall to me.
Right.
So anyway, I was like, oh my god. So I got really into comics. I started going to the comic book store, and I read Superman and Batman, mostly Superman, for about a year and a half. Basically, when he was Superman Red, Superman Blue, which we were talking about.
Yes.
And I got really into it. And I asked my mom, oh, you could subscribe. You can like sign up, and they'll send you a comic in the mail every week. This is much easier. So I asked my mom to do it, and we did it with the Man of Steel line of Superman comics. And what I didn't realize was basically Superman had 4 weekly comics: Man of Steel, Man of Tomorrow, Action Comics, and Superman. And they all told the same story. So literally, I was just getting 1/4 of the story for a year, and it was the Millennium Giants saga, which was not just Superman, but all the DC superheroes. And I was literally getting like this one little piece every week, and I couldn't. My mom wouldn't let me go to the comic book store every week to buy each issue, so I was pretty much stuck with these 12 Man of Steel issues.
You should, on Comics Alliance, is a great comic website that I go to. They have a weekly feature where a writer has been revisiting that era of Superman every week called Electric Boogaloo.
I like it.
You should read it. You'll love it.
I like it. I've been trying to find an Electric Blue Superman
He just finished
shirt.
it up with the Millennium Giants.
Yeah,
so.
which was a okay arc.
I haven't read it, but based on these articles,
Was
it
that when
seems
Superman was
like
like
it was
white
waste.
and blue? Like,
Red and
wasn't
blue, white and blue, and then
he was a being
split.
made of energy who was in a blue and white containment
When he was
suit.
Clark Kent, he was human and
then he's
vulnerable.
right, and then he split into Red Superman and Blue Superman.
Blue was a little bit more straight lace, and Red was a little bit more snarky and fun.
Exactly.
And then they committed suicide to stop the Millennium Giants, and then they just woke up as one single human Superman. And it turns out
it was just like, oh, thank God that's over.
It turns out Dominus created him as a gift for saving humanity, even though he was actually a supervillain and split super. And
You're getting ahead of the Comics Alliance articles, so I don't know what you're talking about now. I don't
Does
know
he
up
come
to the
back
end of
with
the
the
Millennium
mullet?
Giants.
No, he doesn't come back with the mullet.
This is when he loses
This
the
was
mullet,
the start of the pretty much. I would the
This
90s.
was like 99.
The 90s are called the modern era. I don't know what is it called now.
Well,
there was Golden Age, Silver Age, and then Modern Age.
They call it the Bronze Age, like the 80s, maybe through the 90s.
It's not
I don't
the
know
Modern
the
Age
exact
anymore. 'Cause
taxonomy.
It's not modern.
No, the Modern Age would still be like today. But I would say that the 90s comic era probably kind of ended around the time Marvel Knights started, which was kind of started with Daredevil written by Kevin Smith, which was kind of the start of Joe Quesada, who ultimately became the editor-in-chief for a number of years.
Big guy now,
And now he's, I don't even know what he's like, the chief creative officer or something of Marvel.
It's like in the movie credits. That's
yeah,
big.
exactly. He's in the movies. He's in Talking Pictures now. But once he came in and kind of brought in that whole Kevin Smith Daredevil arc, which doesn't stand up so well.
I have AIDS.
Yeah, that's a thing in there.
Like giant words that
really
take up a whole
happen?
page. It's a cool idea. Mysterio convinces Karen Page that she has AIDS because she was a porn star.
Right.
So she commit suicide. She killed herself.
I don't remember if he kills her or if she kills herself.
Yeah.
Spoilers possibly for Daredevil the series.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But anyway,
I think they are going to go there in the TV series.
You just
I haven't watched
you
season
saved me a
2
good
yet.
$50 on the back issues there. They're trying to get the,
Yeah, no, season 2 hasn't hinted at it at all, but even in season 1, I think there was like hints
season
that
1
Karen
there were
Page
hints that she had like a dark background.
Yeah, and I think it was sucking D.
Oh boy.
for the Spice
right,
Network.
I think Frank Miller introduced that
Yeah,
character, right?
Almost
As
positive
that,
that he did.
'Cause
Yeah,
I knew
yeah.
there was
That's a very Frank
like
Miller
Born
thing to
Again
do.
or something, Rebirth or something. And Kingpin was always manipulating.
Alan
him.
Moore wanted her to be a 5-year-old, but kept everything else.
That's not true. I just want to go back to Nightfall real quick. 'Cause
Yeah.
we only have 5 more minutes. I've not read all of Nightfall. I own it. This is true of a lot of comics. I own them and have not read them because I buy a lot on Comixology.
Of course.
But I have read the first kind of piece of Nightfall. If you buy it now, you can get it in 3 like huge trades or digitally. And the first one is actually really, really good. And then it kind of drops off from there. So if anyone's interested in seeing like Bane break Batman's back, it's really good. It holds up.
I read the Aftermath. I collected a lot of graphic novels because it was easier than collecting, and I collected a lot of Batman graphic novels, and I had one called Batman Prodigal, which was about after Azrael was defeated because he was too tough as Batman. He was using
Right, remember him being really
Yeah.
like,
He used
violent.
lethal force,
Yeah,
I believe.
so this is
and
all
Bruce and his
the-
crutches being like, you can't do that.
That's not, you're doing it wrong.
By the way, speaking of bringing 90s things back, they recently brought Azrael back.
Of course. Well,
yeah.
so anyway, I thought so. The issues I have is Dick Grayson as Batman, but
Right.
I thought Dark Knight Rises should have been called Nightfall with a K.
Oh, totally.
Because it's a perfect way to do Dark Knight.
You're right.
And I would have, instead of having Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Robin, which was like, he should have been Azrael. And they should have done that arc instead of the No Man's Land arc. Save the No Man's Land for later. So you got Batman in the Lazarus Pit.
Yeah.
He's working his way out. He's got to not have a rope and all that. And you have Joseph Gordon-Levitt like just kicking ass and like he's being too tough as Batman. And then you have Batman come back and fight Joseph Gordon-Levitt. That would have been cool to me.
I agree with you. This is going to sound weird given what's actually in the movie. I feel like that sounds too comic booky for what Nolan was trying to do with those movies. Like they're supposed to be a little more
And
realistic.
again, I like the No Man's Land story, and I thought it was rushed.
And see,
but I
that was
liked
my
it.
complaint. Was probably it was too grounded. It was too
Yeah.
based in reality of like, you know.
Right.
I think that's where it lost me. That's
Like you know, it's a movie about a man who dresses up like a bat, and they make the jokes like a man who dresses up like a bat has got to be kind of crazy.
Right.
Like go, have fun with it. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to
exactly.
be dark and
what do you
brooding.
mean have fun?
Although pretty much everything Chris Nolan does is dark and brooding, which I like.
Yeah,
You know,
does he-
I'm a
does
fan.
he- I'm trying to think of like lighthearted.
Interstellar is
the,
not-
the
not
robot in
lighthearted.
Interstellar
Feel-good
is
movie.
fun.
Feel-good movie.
Bill Irwin's robot in
I did
Interstellar
like Tars.
is
Tars
fun.
is the best part.
Yeah,
I don't care for Interstellar though.
I like it a lot on my second watch. I've been itching to watch it a third time.
I haven't
but
only
I've got
watched it once, but that's besides the
I
point.
watched it while my grandma was having surgery, and then she didn't survive the surgery.
Okay, well,
and I
that's
was like,
a downer.
and I was watching it to get my mind off of it, and I was like, man, I really like this movie, and I really want to watch it again, but I'm like afraid to watch it now because
Yeah.
I knew watching it, I was like, my grandma had like a 50-50 chance. We were optimistic, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't watch this in case she dies. I was like, I'll put it on.
Oh God.
Yeah, I know. It's the same thing as I lost. I'm not gonna tell this
Just
story.
like me in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I don't want to tell the story because we
Yeah.
only have 2 minutes left, and because it's horrible. But I lost a dog violently.
Yes, I do
violent
know.
death.
This is not a story to share with our podcast
And it
listeners.
happened while I was in the middle of playing Fight Night, which was one of my favorite video games, a boxing game, and I couldn't play Fight Night for like 8 years after that happened.
Understandable.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
finally last year I was like really bored, and I was like, I don't know what to fucking do with myself. And I was like, I'm gonna play Fight Night. I played
Yeah.
it. And I was just like, I'm bored.
Yeah,
but
right.
at least I wasn't like crying my eyes
hate
out.
that.
Yeah, that's progress.
But like now I'm afraid to do anything.
Catharsis.
Like if you have a loved one that might be dying, don't do
Don't
anything.
watch Interstellar.
Yeah. Do something
yeah,
you really
yeah,
don't
yeah.
want to do. So
Yeah. So we got like 100 seconds left. So Evan, is there anything else you want to say about 90s comics? It's your topic. We'll give you the floor.
I think we really covered everything. We brought in both companies. I should say 3. We hit
Yeah.
Image.
Yeah, and
Got
there's,
a little image in
there's
there.
plenty of things that we can talk more in depth about if people submit them, like DC versus Marvel. I could talk for an hour about that.
yeah, no, I would love to talk even more in depth about Death of Superman. even
Yeah,
though-
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So hopefully, don't be afraid if you submitted those topics.
That's
we'll,
another.
we'll cover them.
That and Nightfall. I own both of them, all the entire runs digitally, and I'm dying to reread
No
them.
Man's Land, I would love to talk about.
Yeah.
I would love to talk about Millennium Giants. Real quick Millennium Giant story. So at Six Flags Great Adventure, I once won this huge stuffed animal, this big Black Panther.
Okay.
And it was amazing how I won it. It was like knock the milk balls.
Not Black Panther, the Marvel character,
No,
right?
it was literally just a Black Panther. Anyway, it was probably 4 feet tall.
Okay.
So I used that with my action figures as a Millennium
nice.
Giant. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Nice.
Yeah. The 90s were, on the whole, a good time for comics, I would say. We didn't even talk about Age of Apocalypse, which I just
whoa.
realized.
Yeah, we
and
didn't
that
know.
is a
I'd-
topic
we didn't realize-
all to
I
its
tell
own.
you, I insist. Yeah, that's a
We'll-
topic.
we'll bring
worth
you back
covering.
if you wanna talk about Age of
Listen,
Apocalypse.
I'd be happy to.
I'm going to
That's-
say this X-Men Apocalypse is probably my least favorite of the X-Men movies, including Last Stand.
Including
X-Men.
X-Men Origins for me.
I rewatched it. I think the world was a little hard on it, and I was very hard on it too. I hated it. I thought it was terrible.
I hated it at the time.
and I rewatched it. and I was like, this actually has a lot of good stuff in it.
Yeah, I really did not enjoy X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah, it was really bad.
It was bad. Time's going to tell on that one.
I got to see that too.
You haven't seen it?
No, have
piece,
not.
Piece of poop.
Piece of
All
black
right.
poop. That's our show.
And that is it for this episode of 90s Percentile. So I'm going to, before we wrap things up, I'm going to turn to Evan, our guest, and I'm going to say thank you for being here, first of all.
Thank you guys for having me.
And we'll give you a chance to plug stuff in a second. But first, I'm going to ask you, what did you learn today?
I think the what was the Superman arc you were just talking about?
Millennium Giants.
Millennium Giants.
Yes, we've
I'm
all
curious. That's going to be my Wikipedia tonight.
Check it out. Go on Comics Alliance.
It
Look
makes
up
no
Electric
sense.
Boogaloo.
Every 1,000 years, the Millennium Giants come out of the ground and destroy completely remake the world, which doesn't make sense because 1,000 years ago we were doing fine.
That has literally never happened before in any universe.
Yeah. Oh, and it was in 1998, so it happened a little early because Electric Superman, global warming. I forget.
I have no idea.
It was
I
like
don't
a
know.
year off.
I don't know.
I learned that, and I also learned that David Schwimmer could have been a huge.
Agent Shay.
He could have been.
That's
He could have been a man in black.
Can you imagine Tommy Lee Jones in that interaction?
What am I supposed? What's a noisy cricket? What am I supposed to do with this?
I kind of would like to see that movie.
I would love to
Schwimmer's
see
Men
the
in Black.
Tom Hanks speed.
Yeah,
Take me to that
totally.
parallel universe.
Yeah, absolutely.
What have you learned?
What did I learn? I learned that I should really read all these comics that I buy because I spend a lot of money on them. But more than that, I learned that I don't know. That you only know a quarter of the story of the Millennium Giants.
I actually did out of that. That's the one thing I collected all of them.
Since then, okay, you have.
Except
All
for
right.
one, I couldn't find it even in the back catalog, and I kept them for years because it's like, oh man, I'm probably the only person in the world that has all the Millennium Giants. This must be worth something.
No.
And then when I moved, when my mom sold her house, and I had to literally get rid of it. I couldn't use my mom's house as storage anymore.
Right.
And I basically had to like get rid of 99% of my possessions, and all my comics went. I was just like, done with these.
My parents wish that all of my comics have.
I agree.
And I got rid of some
I agree.
gems. I got rid of some gems. It hurt. But anyway, I learned that if you're listening, Hollywood, Evan Leone should play Jason Todd
For sure.
in Under the Red Hood. Not,
I got it.
No offense, Evan. Not in like the Death in the Family early arc.
Nah.
We'll get who could play young Evan in the flashbacks
Jeez, I don't
with
know.
Jared Leto. Well, anyway,
One of the kids from Stranger Things.
Yeah,
they're
there we
good.
go.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're,
There we
they're
go.
hot right now.
the fat one,
Yeah,
the fat one with the buck teeth.
Excellent. My
thinking
favorite. My
the black
favorite
one.
one.
Thinking the black
one.
one.
The kid with the speech impediment.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah,
per-
right,
that's
right.
right.
Perfect.
But you should play adult Jason Todd, Red Hood, badass Jason
Let's do
Todd.
it.
Yeah. Cool.
Hear
But
that,
in the
Affleck?
meantime, while you're not playing that, where can we see you? So
We got
Feed the Beast is coming out on tape, right? On
Yes,
VHS.
we
It's coming
finished
out
the
on
first
VHS.
season on AMC. We just wrapped that this
That's a good
summer.
network.
So please, if you go to AMC.com, any of your on-demand services, I'm sure it's on there as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely check it out. Like I said, it is a really fun, quirky mob show, and Evan has no offense to David Schwimmer, but Evan's got all the best scenes in the show because Michael Gladys is fucking
He's great.
fantastic. What did I
He's
just
great.
see him in?
He's great in like everything.
Oh, I just saw him in
I really like
Terminator
him.
Genesis. He wasn't great in that, but it wasn't his fault. It was just
he was in that.
He was
But
in
he
had 3 lines.
He was
But-
really good on Eagleheart. Did you ever watch Eagleheart
Yes.
on Adult Swim?
Yes.
He was
Who
very
was he
good.
in that?
He was like the
we
chief.
talked
Oh, he
all
was the
about
chief.
He had a lot of
Yes.
makeup. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So next time you see him, you tell him that I was a big
Eagleheart.
fan of
Will do.
Eagleheart.
Will do. Happy to.
And if you do want to watch Evan on Feed the Beast, you can buy episodes on Amazon. But
Oh,
before
yeah.
you do, you got to click through wepodcast.com, click our banners. That helps keep the show free. We get a small cut of whatever you buy.
What if my mouse is broken? What if I don't want to click anything? I just want to type in a domain name.
You just want to type in a domain
Yeah.
name? I got it. I got the hook. We got you hooked up, guys.
Okay.
Amazon.wepodcast.com. That's weepodcast.com. Boom. Takes you right to Amazon. We get a small cut. Helps keep the show
Yeah,
free.
you get what
Beautiful.
you want. You get some. You help Evan out. You get something for you,
help
and we
all
get a
of us out.
percentage. The show does great.
Help
It's
us
great.
all out,
Spread it
guys.
around. Spread it around.
Come on. I don't know who's talking.
All right, so after we buy Feed the Beast on Amazon, we watch it. We want to tell you what a good job you did. Where do we find you? Are you on Twitter?
Yeah, you can find me right on Twitter. It's just at Ev Leone. So that's just, I didn't get to my name quick enough.
Yeah.
So that's what you settle for. I think everyone in that time frame, one time or another, social media is like, I'll just
Absolutely.
do my name.
It's better than Hot
So
Ice
Ev Leone.
L82.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically everybody that has like at Jack, at Mike, they're all like Silicon Valley writers or
Yeah.
Silicon.
Or they work for
in-
Twitter
Yeah,
or
exactly,
something.
yeah.
laughing on their
Yeah.
big sums of money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who's going to pay me for this? Domain names.
I know. I should start thinking of like of comic book movie arcs, comic book arcs that they'll make movies
Millennium
out of.
Giants.
Yeah,
Was it
exactly.
Millennium
Millennium
Giants?
Giants, the
Do it.
movie.com.
At Millennium Giants.
Right
Get
now.
it.
So
Right now.
that's called cyber squatting, and it's a legal gray area. It may be illegal.
Really?
At
I know
least
a lot of people make a lot of money doing
Trying
it.
to extort companies for.
I would extort that. I just
them.
asked them for a lot of money or wouldn't give it to them.
Just a meet
also-
and greet with Henry Cavill. I think that's all
Yeah,
he's,
it's
that's all
like
he's
looking in
asking
the mirror.
for.
That's your identical twin. Yeah, but a lot of movies don't even have websites like that anymore.
Yeah,
It's just
nobody
like
even-
follow hashtag the Millennium Giants on Twitter.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, Speaking of Twitter,
Yeah, I'm at Jackie No Breaks.
I'm at Then Dan Says. The show is at 90s Percentile, or our other show is at Worst Episode Ever. Or no, it's not. It's at Worst Episode Pod.
For now.
For now. And
It will come back soon. If you're a Worst Episode Ever fan, don't worry. It's coming back eventually.
It's coming back. But you can check that show out at WePodcast.com. That's our Simpsons show, and also our sync points are up there if you want to spend a little money and watch a movie with
Keep
Jack
an
and
eye
I.
on that.
Yeah, keep an eye there. Something cool is coming soon.
We may have already mentioned it. I'm not sure.
I don't know. We may have already mentioned it at the top of the show. We haven't figured it out yet.
All right.
But anyway, if you want to support the show and you don't want to spend any money and you don't want to tell your friends, by the way, you should also tell your friends, you can go on iTunes and give us a rating. We prefer 5 stars.
Yeah.
Anything less than 4 stars would be bad.
Yeah, no.
Anything 4 stars would be bad. We want 5 stars only.
Yeah, by prefer, we mean just that, please.
We're saying do it now, or we will hold this entire podcast hostage.
We're just going to put old socks on
Yep.
the
We're going to
podcast.
send you an old sock for every review you don't leave.
So there you go.
So there you go.
It's
But
not an idle threat. we will
we
do
will.
it.
We have lots of old socks laying around. But if you do leave a review on iTunes, it can be read on air, like Evan is about to read our latest iTunes review.
And Evan, so we looked at this review. It's there's not much to work with, so we're going to ask you to do it in the voice of Gecko. We'll give you a minute to get into character.
Yeah, this is tough.
Me and
All
Dan
right.
are just going to make funny
Am
faces.
I
at each
allowed
other.
to read the by and you know?
Yeah,
Yes.
read the whole thing.
You read
All
the whole
right.
thing.
Make
All right.
sure you mention that it was 5 stars.
All right, yeah. So this one just came in a 5-star review. Love it. That's actually much deeper than I would ever talk on the show. Love it! Exclamation point by Mabozy. Mabozy.
We don't know.
Love all the eps. You guys are great. It's a good one.
Nice.
5 stars.
That is
was
a good one.
excellent.
That's
That was
very
excellent.
good.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
free
no.
for voiceover work anytime.
Yes.
There you go.
Stunning.
Evan Leone on Twitter,
If you're
right?
doing
That's
an
right.
audio
That's right.
only, if you're doing an old 30s audio drama of Under the Red Hood, and you need
There we go.
a Jason Todd,
Perfect.
Why did you
right
kill
here.
me, Batman? You left me to die.
I'm coming to get you, Jason.
Ice cream man here. Y'all looking for a little spritz of something cold?
And now the big band will play. It's other 30s radio jokes. Also, I just want to, speaking of 30, I just want to mention, like ESPN, we're now 30 for 30 with our 5-star reviews. So
We are, you're right.
So keep them
Excellent.
coming.
So
Keep them
Bravo.
coming and do not break the streak, because we will kill
We'll,
you.
we'll send you so many old socks.
Shove old socks down your throat. We'll send Gecko to do it.
That's it.
You do not
That's
want
it.
that.
That's season 2 of Feed the Beast,
That's
where Gecko just brings old socks to.
To podcast listeners. Big,
That's
they
literally.
retooled
That
the
was-
show.
that
little
wasn't a
side
metaphor.
mission.
That wasn't a metaphor. That's literally the entire
They
plot.
retooled the show heavily.
The old Greek Bronx podcast community.
Evan, this was terrific. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll have you
We'll have
again.
you back if you
Yeah,
want to come
please
back.
do.
That's going to be it for this episode of 90s Percentile. My name is Dan.
My name is Jack, and we'll see you in another decade.